my granddaughter the night of the accident, hours before the accident. She was drawing at the kitchen table. She was just turning 5, so it was all stick figures. She had taped 2 pieces of paper together. She drew a hill and she drew a cross, and she had angels. And when we got the news the next day, I contacted her mother. And then later on I can't remember the time frame, if it was that afternoon or that night, she contacted my daughter and said, she goes, I asked Aubrey what this drawing was, and she says, I'm walking Daddy up to heaven.
Today we're talking with Sara Kujawa, spiritual counselor, grief counselor, medium, and author. Welcome in, Sara. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to have you today. You have such a wonderful story, but I don't know all the details, and I hope to learn them today. We are going to have an interesting conversation about a topic that is so important for us to really dive into. Why don't you kind of get us up to date on what was going on in your life before January of 2014?
Well, before January 2014, I was a traditional mom. I had a career. I was in health and fitness. I was busy with my kids. That was my journey. I was living in a suburb of Houston. Everything was great. I had been married for many decades. Household cat, the whole 9 yards. And then January 9th, my son was in an industrial accident at work and was struck by a heavy piece of equipment and was killed instantly. We didn't receive the news until the following morning because of the work investigation. And then, of course, the knock on the door, our house exploded, imploded, whatever narrative you want to use. Our lives turned upside down. I was already on a spiritual path of wanting to connect more with spirit. I see that was always in my cards for probably about a decade, all the leading up to it. I had gone to a Teresa Caputo gallery reading several weeks before Adam passed. And I remember even mentioning it to my son, and he just, like that or whatever.
Oh, Mom.
Yes, Mom. And I was always interested in all the different ghost stories on TV, and followed, Sylvia Brown and John Edward and James Van Praagh. I was into all that, but it was still on outside. It was not something I was wanting to bring into my heart space.
It was fascinating.
It was fascinating, and most of my family was already in spirit, but I knew that they were fine. It wasn't something that I was longing to research into. It was so more superficial. And then actually the night of my son's accident, I had just finished Teresa Caputo's first book. I just finished the book, put it on the coffee table. And when we got the knock on the door, we came back inside, kicked the coffee table. That book flew off the coffee table. Out of all the items still on the coffee table, the book flew off, flipped over, it landed at my feet with the cover up, with Teresa's, big blonde hair looking at me. And I just picked it up. I said, oh my God, this is my reality now. And I slung it across the room. So for that instant, I knew, my soul knowing, and then of course, then reality started setting in, and we made our trip to Colorado because he was on contract work in Colorado. So we flew there, and I had synchronicities all along that day, but it's not where I was at. Obviously, I was just so distraught that I couldn't even breathe, as you know. And in hindsight, I started seeing the dots leading up to it. I wasn't really, like I said, into the mediumship, but I do recall about the same time as the Teresa Caputo's gallery reading that I went to, I was changing out my new pots and pans, taking the old ones out of the cupboard because we hadn't gotten a new stovetop and induction that required a different type of pots and pans. And I was pulling them out, and I had one that was my mom's kettle, that was her mother's kettle that we always made the same fudge in. I was pulling them out, and I said, I'll give all these pans to Adam, because he's always, burning pans on whatever he's doing with the grill, right? Putting Teflon on the grill. And I heard a voice, a soft, beautiful, loving female voice externally say, he won't be here to use them. I'd never heard a voice like that before, but it wasn't scary. It was like, okay, like, oh, I wasn't supposed to. I didn't know where to, I guess I didn't know where to put that in my thought process. And I said, okay. And then the female voice said, but everything's going to be all right. So I took a couple of deep breaths, logged it in my memory, and put my pots and pans away and put Adam's future pans out into the garage. And what started that is, like I said, I knew I had a soul knowing of Adam was going to have a short life. I didn't have it with my daughter, but with my son. Now, my son was very full of life. He was going to squeeze in every possible imaginable memory into that 28 years, which he did. He lived a very full life. He had a daughter, a 5-year-old daughter at the time of his passing. And she was connecting with him on a regular basis that first couple of years until kind of like school got a hold of her, and it changes. And so we all have the ability to connect. That's my true feeling. It's just moving our limited beliefs out of the way, being able to be open to receive and not judge those messages, open our heart, feel our way through life versus thinking our way through life, as I was prior to thinking our way. You're planning out your whole week's schedule and your groceries and everything else. And then when you have a child pass, it's like, that's all petty. You don't care.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I had lots of confirmations in the beginning, but that's not where I was at in my journey yet. As we know, that's what grief does. It's like it takes you, it's like you're a filing cabinet. Your life is a filing cabinet. And then you go through this and someone has just obliterated your filing cabinet.
Yeah.
You don't even know your social security number. Nothing makes sense. Also, my granddaughter, the night of the accident, hours before the accident, she was drawing at the kitchen table, and she was just turning 5, so it was all stick figures. She had taped 2 pieces of paper together. She drew a hill and she drew a cross, and she had angels, and it was just a beautiful drawing, a typical newly 5-year-old with a pencil. And when we got the news the next day, I contacted her mother. And then later on after, I can't remember the time frame, if it was that afternoon or that night, she contacted my daughter and said, she goes, I asked Aubrey what this drawing was. And she says, I'm walking daddy up to heaven.
Oh.
She didn't even know yet. The accident hadn't happened yet.
Yeah.
And she did not attend church or Bible study. She was not raised in that type of setting where she understood Calvary Hill, the cross with Jesus on it. He's crying. He's got a crown, thorns. She's got the angels in the sky all around. And it's 2 stick figures of her, a large stick figure and a small of her walking her daddy up to heaven. So it was a beautiful, amazing gift. It didn't penetrate into my heart until I allowed it to, because it was like, it wasn't accepting yet, right?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And my brother shared that story at his celebration of life service so everyone could hear it. And so I had all these beautiful signs. I had that knowing. I had a neighbor stop by my house a couple years before his passing, and she just stopped by and she goes, just wanted to let you know. I said, well, you can share whatever. And she was kind of like apprehensive. And she said, I had this dream that something happened to your son. I just started crying because then I remembered that knowing. So then I was even more worried because she had this dream. She goes, I don't know your son, but I wanted you to know about my dream. Now, who would do that, right?
Right.
So
she was called to do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
She was called to do it. And I was mad at her, of course. My husband was mad. My neighbor was mad, at her for stopping by here I am raking leaves in the yard to tell me this, but I needed to. She was called to tell me that as another reminder to almost prepare myself so I could see these signs later on. So there's multiple ones like this and multiple stories, but it's not that it took away the grief or the pain, for sure, but it helped me later on to delve into that and to understand our soul's plan. I wanted to learn more about how we plan this life and our potential exit points and all this. Everything that you explored too, it makes you start questioning everything and anything that we know about this life.
And I
And
think
that is the
that
gift. Mm-hmm.
mothers are ferocious at finding their children.
Oh, yes, I do believe though. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. I
We will
mean,
stop at nothing.
we're not gonna stop. It's like, I want to know what happened. I
Yes.
want to know.
I want to know. I want to know.
Hmm.
And I knew that I remember even as soon as we got to Colorado, I remember sitting outside asking Adam, where are you? I need to know where you are. I need to feel you. I started talking to him right away. And I'm sure you did too. After you're like, where are you? What is happening? I need to know you're safe. I need to know. So we focus on that, and that's what pulls them in. It's because we're focused
Hmm.
on it. We're hyper focused on it. It's that cord of love,
Hmm.
and that's the gift they have given us, is to be able to, now they can help us with our soul's journey. Not there aren't moments that we don't want it that way. We still
Right.
want it the other way. But
Yeah.
we realize that this is much, much bigger than we can
Yeah.
even comprehend.
Mhm. So
Mm-hmm.
how did the grief is undeniable. It doesn't matter what you know, who you know, any of that. The grief is undeniable. How did you make the decision that you were going to do something differently? And you have a Facebook group that's very popular and it's called Doing Grief Differently.
Mm-hmm.
How did you come to that place of I'm gonna figure this out?
Well, I surrounded myself with like-minded people. It's a different group than obviously my friends that I had, prior to January 9th. I started searching for ways to help heal myself. I was in horrible pain within 24 or 48 hours of Adam's physical pain. So I knew I had taken on, the grief was beyond. It was in my hips and my lower back. So I started searching for alternative therapies. First off, many of the doctors I went to, 3 different doctors, all told me that they can't find anything wrong, but they're going to put me on steroids, et cetera, and muscle relaxers, but they can't find anything physically wrong. And finally, one doctor said, "It's because you're not moving forward."
Oh.
And it was like a light went off. Here I was in health and fitness. I mean, this is what I do. I was a personal trainer. I owned a gym. So it was, oh, me. Okay. How do I
Mhm.
move this? How do I move these emotions? Because I'm holding on to them. So that put me on the path of wanting to learn more about me, energy healing. So I found a Reiki practitioner, which I'd never heard of before that, before January 9th, and a local one. And I had a few sessions and I was like, this feels amazing. I want to learn more about this. So my sister started looking around and she said that the local junior college, the community college, offered classes and the adult classes. They had been teaching it there for years. That was not my wheelhouse. So that is not something I even noticed. And many other classes besides that, as far as, in the spiritual realm of classes. And so I took a class. I was fascinated. The mentor, the teacher of the class, she was a retired nurse, Angel Chandler. She was also raised Catholic. Okay. So I had all these synchronicities lining up that this is the path. So I took the courses all the way through to Reiki Master. And I just
Oh,
sped through them because, when you're going through, for me, going through grief in that first year or two, you're just a sponge and you're wanting to learn everything you can. Knowledge, I want knowledge. I wanted to focus on understanding. So I just poured through it. And then she retired. I started teaching the classes at the college. So I taught it for 3 years up till COVID, and then things changed. So
mm,
then I think someone else has taken it over now this past year. But so Reiki kind of opened up the door of understanding that we need to feel our way through life. And I needed to feel for Adam, not look for him with my physical eyes.
mhm. But just feel 'em.
Hmm. Feel
Yeah,
him, and just to feel your body, feel your organs, to help move my energy that was stuck.
yeah,
So even to this day, I know when I have an ache or a pain, okay, what's that emotion coming up? What's going on inside of me? And there's always there, it pops up. So it put me on a learning curve of learning more about, our chakras, our energy system, all our abilities, our innate abilities that we all have,
mhm.
and how can we use them to empower ourselves to help us through whatever we're going through.
So you're now a Reiki master, and I imagine your sensitivity is expanding. When did you first start connecting with Adam?
It wasn't that long after, but now I had to convince myself that I was connecting too.
Yeah,
But
that's the thing.
that's the other thing. I had to get out of that doubt of it because, then you walk out into your living room or you CNN's on or whatever, and then you get stuck, you're pulled right back in. I joined in it, or my Reiki mentor, she was doing an intuitive circle once a week. So I had something to look forward to and learn from others. And then, it doesn't mean you won't learn things that maybe don't settle with you too, but then you learn discernment through all of this, right? Through other practitioners. I started using the pendulum in Reiki
Okay.
class. I was taught that for balancing the chakras. So that led me to saying, well, if I can connect my higher self with the pendulum, I can start talking to whomever I would like to using the pendulum, and I can physically see and prove to myself, almost like a reassurance. It's like having, a sign, a physical sign, right? So I needed to have it because I have believed that I needed wholeheartedly that I needed to convince myself, which I did, if I opened myself up to it,
Mhm.
because we know
Well,
it's easily.
and I think in the beginning, when we're developing the sensitivities or expanding our ability to perceive out, it's so subtle that it's
Yes,
easy to overlook.
yes, it's
It's
subtle,
easy
but
to, yeah, it's
yeah,
easy to discount. It's easy to say, oh, well,
right.
that was a coincidence that it was the book that fell
No,
off.
you're right. Yeah.
Oh, that was a coincidence. And
Mhm.
and I think that we're taught that because of the culture here on this planet, that we don't support the idea that it's all just energy. And some of us are invisible and some of us are not.
Correct. I do. Yes, you're right. And I do. So meditation is why it's always so
Yeah.
important. Any form of
Meditation is the
meditation.
gateway drug
It
too.
is a gateway drug. It is. It is because then you can quiet. So I would sit outside many a mornings in the beginning because that was my saving grace, was being out in nature. I'm
Yes.
sure it was for you too.
Hmm.
And just taking in the color of green was very, very healing, as we know, it's the heart chakra. And use, I would close off my regular senses and then try to open up my hypersensitivity to all the sights, sounds, smells, and everything, and practice that. So I would try to listen off in the distance. I would practice that. And you pick up on things that it probably was daily occurrence, but you didn't notice it, because we were in our robotic minds. And that helped to help heighten that subtleness of hearing or sensing. I also practice games like I called it Marco Polo, like we used to play like in the pool as a kid, but I
Hmm.
did it with energy. So I would take my hands out, and walk around, and I would say, okay, Adam, I want to feel your energy somewhere in this room. So I'm going to walk around until I can feel
Oh,
the
I
tingling in
love
my
that.
hands and walk around. And that was fun. It was childish, but so much fun. And it was great practice. And just playing also mental games with him. I called it the grocery shopping game, where I would practice opening my third eye. I would close my eyes because the stronger you get, then you can see without closing your eyes.
Hmm.
So I'd practice like, okay, we're going to go on the cereal aisle. Show me a box of cereal. So I try to physically think of him on my mind's eye, showing me a box of cereal. And I would say like Frankenberry Crunch or whatever, something from who knows when, a long time ago. And so I would go through that. We do different categories around the store. And so that helped to prove to me, because it
Hmm.
was coming out of, it almost felt like left field, right? It would be
Hmm.
something like, let's talk about Quaker Oats or whatever else, on the cereal aisle. And so it was a great way to practice opening up my third eye and connecting and trusting. And
Hmm.
Adam's energy has a signature, just like your daughter. We each have a signature. You just kind of feel it. So
Hmm.
it's no different if someone walks up behind you when you're in the kitchen. You can feel someone coming, so you can practice that.
Hmm.
Okay.
And I use that analogy so much. Well, I'll say, close your eyes. I'll say to someone, close your eyes. Now imagine your mother just walked into the room. What do you feel? We all have that. We all have
Yeah.
that knowing of when someone we are close to, we know what they feel like, but we
Yeah.
don't really exercise it because we're so used to visually
Yeah,
seeing
yeah, that's beautiful.
in
Look,
this reality.
a cat knows. Cat can be in the living room and they'll run over to another room and look out the bedroom window because they sense this. So
Yeah. Or my cat will sit up in the living room and
I'm
look up at
looking.
the corner and I'm like,
Yes,
all right, who's up there?
right, right. So
Hmm.
it is all. I feel it's all about the vibration. If
Hmm.
you and I are in a higher place, we're picking up on more.
Yeah.
We do. Sometimes, and I do believe for me in the journey too, I felt like I opened up so quickly, and then I had to be careful because you get hurt easily. The energy can affect you
Hmm.
physically, or
Hmm.
other people's energy can affect you. And you feel like you're so wide open that you feel very vulnerable
Hmm.
too. Or maybe you take things too literally sometimes when you're wide open. So you've got to
Hmm.
practice that balance.
Yeah. Perceiving but not being vulnerable. That's a good point. That's a good way to
Yeah.
put it. Yeah.
And because, we're wearing our emotions on our sleeves when we're going through deep grief,
Hmm.
so we take everything to heart.
Yeah.
So, but the Reiki for me was my opening. And
Yes.
then I started like wanting to learn about everything, dabble. Let me try this. Well, let me look into this. Let me try that. And then, but that's I guess always been my approach. Let's just try it and see what we think. It's not like you have to go a certain way and stay there.
Hmm.
It usually leads you to another door to open. And if you don't like that door, then turn left and go to the other door. Like that, which is, I think, is a great way to look at it. I see this as opening up just like everyone else in the world. I think that this younger generation, this is very easy for them.
Yeah. They're coming in different, Sarah.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
coming in wired different than we were.
Very wired differently. We weren't like pushed down and told what to wear and what to think. Um, so I do believe that it's always going to be expanding. I think that's what makes us eternal, that we're always
Hmm.
expanding on a soul level.
Hmm.
And that I know this was not my first rodeo with Adam. So I started exploring that with him and asking him about other lives. And then that's what kept pushing me because he kept saying, Mom, you got stuff to do. You've got stuff to do. You're going to make it through this,
Oh,
you
okay.
know? And
You
it's
got
just
a
like,
job,
yeah, but
Mom.
I got a job, but I want to know. I
Yeah.
want to feel safe and know what that job is. So you go through that, right?
And then
And
he says, no, Mom, you've got to figure it out on your own.
you got to figure it on your own, and you can't know it all now because you would probably freeze.
Yeah.
It'd be too overwhelming.
Hmm.
And I understand that now, but not at the time, because when we go through this, the trauma of the death of a child, the unknown is very scary because we just went through it. So we want to have a handle on the future in a way so we don't have to relive that trauma again
Hmm.
of the surprise of
Hmm.
that. But that's where that faith and trust is something you really have to practice.
Yeah.
You really have to practice. And I do believe that we go through this so we can help others.
Yeah.
And in some capacity, we got to help others so we can either be better or better.
Yeah. Boy, isn't that the truth? Were you journaling with Adam?
I journaled that first few years. I journaled.
Yeah.
First, I started just writing to him because I wasn't hearing him back. I started writing and writing, pouring my heart out to everything. Because, as a mom, you're going to come up with everything. Well, I'm sorry for when you were 2 years old. You
I
go through
know.
all of it.
Oh my
It
gosh, the mommy guilt. It's like
the
I
mommy
shouldn't have
guilt of
made you eat
anything.
that thing you didn't want to
Yes,
eat.
I shouldn't have made you go to football practice when you didn't want to play football. You go through all this. It's all those would have, should have, could haves. You've got
Hmm.
to. I believe that the grief that you and I went through is kind of like a life review. You're doing your whole life, not just what you went through with your child, but everything we've ever existed since we were born, and probably other lifetimes.
Hmm.
But it's an opportunity to spin memories and situations into to different perspectives, various perspectives, whether it's a trauma from something from 20 years ago, you can like look at it from now, from your eyes now with what you know and go, oh no, yeah, now I can look at it differently. So we can release that, you know. So I feel wiser, of course, after going through this because this was so earth shattering that you have to become wiser to be able to step out the door and take on the world.
Yeah. There, you made such a beautiful statement. It's you've either you're gonna get bitter or you're gonna get better. And it's a decision. Is this going to be what takes me down? Or am I going to? I kind of viewed it as this really huge climbing wall. Like I have just got to get up over that wall.
Yeah. Yeah. Good for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
That wall.
Well, same for
And there's
you.
something physical. Yeah.
Yeah, and another thing, and you'll relate to this. I can remember at the beginning, in the early days, desperately wanting to know if she was okay. If she
Yes.
was okay, which cracks me up now because they're fine.
They're fine. We're the ones that
They're
are dealing with it.
fabulous. They're looking at us
Mhm.
going, "Oh, you don't know you're in the hard place."
Yeah, you're in the hard place. You're in the school of hard knocks.
You're in the school of hard knocks, and they're like, "Oh, honey, we're doing good."
Yeah, yeah. And it's because our culture, how we were raised, even
Hmm.
though we were all, most, those of us in North America were raised to believe there is an afterlife.
Hmm.
And oh, we tell everybody else, oh, well, if they were suffering, then they're in a better place now. But
Yeah,
yet, do we
but
believe it?
the afterlife, though, wasn't, at least in my experience, maybe you can share your experience, it wasn't tangible. It was
Yeah,
more like sort of an airy fairy, oh, up in heaven with Jesus,
and
kind of
clouds.
this,
Yeah,
yeah, this
yeah.
this very vague that you can't really get there, and definitely you can't talk to him. And if you want to talk to Jesus, you got to talk to the priest. And
Yeah, yeah. It
so
was a sin to talk to him. That's right.
it was a sin to talk to them, right? Right, but they're right there. That's
They're
what's like.
right there.
They're right there, and
No.
being able to connect, which you have developed your skills in that. That's our gift from God. We are born with these skills, and they kind of get. As little kids, we know, like your granddaughter, she was connecting with her dad, and as
Mhm.
we get a little bit older, then it sort of gets. I don't know, is it shamed out of us, or people say your imaginary friends aren't real, or
Hmm. And I remember asking her, like, just a few years now, she's in ninth grade, asking her a few years ago, and she goes, "Oh, well, probably 4 years ago." She goes, "Oh, that was all in my head." Now she doesn't
oh,
even recall. But
oh,
Adam
honey,
kept telling me, if she has the abilities, we all do. If she wants to
right,
open up, it's not your choice to make her stay open. You
yeah,
know what I mean? Being a teenager is hard enough right now. So, she'll use these kids, like you said, they're very intuitive. They know
hmm,
what they want. They're coming wired differently. You'll see all over TikTok and all different platforms of kids coming in where they're like remembering skills they had. It's just pouring in. It's just pouring
hmm,
in.
hmm,
So, that's the gift of each generation,
yeah.
that it's just going to be normal to be able to communicate.
Yeah, we're evolving as humans, and of course, as the energy
Yes.
on the planet raises, how has your ability to connect changed over the years? I would imagine in the beginning it was very faint and you weren't really sure, and then you start
Um,
growing it like a muscle, and it becomes much more, well, for your fitness background,
yeah,
that's a
yeah.
great
So
analogy.
yeah, great analogy. Yeah, it did get stronger, but not, it's not that there's not times that I think it evolves into, like, you want to make sure they're there, so you're always wanting to communicate, even
Mhm,
though you and I know it can be no other way. But I think there's still that, for me, there was that bit of worry, like, well, because other people would say, or even other metaphysical people would say, well, he's only going to hang around for such a period of time, or then he's going to move on, or he'll reincarnate. And I'm thinking, well, that's all hogwash now. But at the time, I took it to heart, you
mhm.
know? So I felt like I needed to over communicate, but really it was just for me to practice more till it got stronger and stronger until I could just feel his essence at all times. It wasn't a timeline. That's the human part of it. And that I always know he's around. It's just me kind of like switching my focus to
Yeah.
that. It's like if you're
Mhm.
so engrossed in a movie on TV, you don't know what's going on behind you. You're not hearing what's going on with your pets or the phone going off or anything. So you change that focus. So I do believe that it's more of a blending for me.
Mhm.
After the few years in, it got more of a blending. I just knew he was always there.
Mhm.
Whether I was in the shower or whatever. At first, that would freak me out, because I would feel them if I was going to take a shower. It's like, no. And then I thought, well, it can't be any other way. It's not.
They don't care.
They don't care. But at first
like...
it did, right? And so I know he's always there guiding me. Sometimes I needed it at the beginning, meaning the first several years. I needed him to really like thump me on the head all the time.
Yeah.
To reassure me. Where now I just know he's there. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And it's not that I don't, of course, even by my own language, sometimes I'll say how much I miss him, but I miss him physically.
Right. Yeah.
Opening presents at Christmas or whatever it was, that's just, I believe that's normal. It doesn't make a difference whether you're gifted in your abilities or not. It's just a normal process that we miss that human touch and interaction like that.
And I think it's the expectation. And this is the topic, the only one that kind of gets me anymore, that can hook me in is, I expected to have her in my life. I expected, to grow old and to watch her mature and that sort of thing. And that's the only thing, is that expectation. Reality turned out very different than my expectation.
Yeah. And expectation really, it can trip us up on everything. Even with the mediumship and as a healer, you expect it to be a certain way. And then you got to go, wait, okay, it is what it is. I'm not going to work with it. I'm going to stay present and I have to go with the flow, because we know we start dragging our feet. What happens? Start resisting.
Yeah.
It hurts.
It teaches you to stay in the moment. Like what's really happening right now.
And what's really important.
Yeah.
I believe that you and I are here to help others to create it to be a normal platform to talk about.
Yeah.
And that there is nothing scary or evil, whatever you want to say. If there's a hell, if there were a hell, hell is on earth.
This is a pretty low vibrational dimension that we're in. If we're able to laugh in this one, we got the other ones just we're going to do good.
Fine. So I would say meditating, meaning just quieting. Doesn't mean it has to cut off everything. It's just being able to connect. And I think a hard part for those who are going through grief is that our emotions get the best of us and our energy drops. So it's very, very thick and dense, and we want the world to stop when we're in deep grief, because of the person who close to us that we love so dearly, has transitioned. But as our vibration changes, we can pick up on those signs. And then once you acknowledge them, it lifts your energy even more. So you can get more signs.
Yeah.
So
how did you move from being the mom that lost their child to deciding I'm really going to embrace this now and start working in mediumship and starting the Facebook group? I imagine it was one baby step at a time.
It was a baby step because first off, you don't want to be judged by others, and you want to bring those people that you care about with you on this journey.
Right.
And that's not where they're at.
Whether they want to go or not, we want to bring them.
Yeah, come on. You're trying to convince them. And then when they think you're strange or, weird, or they don't want to hang around you, you can take that personally. So we got to let the public, all your viewers know that is a normal stage, that things will shift with your friends and family, and that it's just a vibration. If you're not a match to those people, you can't convince them anything different. The people that are going to watch this is because they're being drawn to it. I believe I knew I needed a change, and I knew I needed to be around like-minded people.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was the whole pull. Because if I felt so strongly about this and the people I was hanging around, they were not, it was going to shift, because they weren't going to come with me.
Yeah.
They were not going to come with me. And I had to have trust and faith that new friends and new people would show up on my path. I believe alone time is very, very important when you're grieving, at different times, because you can't skirt around grief. You got to go through it. You can't party your way through it. You can't, whatever. You have to go through it, and you can't avoid it when you're alone. And then again, we're truly not alone.
Never. We just think we are.
We just think we are. So the journaling really, really helped. And that got me involved in the automatic writing.
Yeah.
So then that started the automatic writing with him
Mm-hmm.
and with Jesus and the archangels. And, because I felt that was my safeguard, being raised Catholic, that I needed to be able to connect to that because I was had a, had them at a certain level, being raised Catholic. I thought, well, just the priest can only speak to God. No one else, no one else is deserving. And obviously I had to really throw away all those beliefs.
Yeah.
But I had other people tell me, oh, no, you need to connect with this or that. So I had to kind of learn not the hard way, but I had to experiment and figure out what was going to work for me and settle well in my body, and use a lot of discernment from people you learn from what you read, videos you watch, sessions you have. Use discernment, what feels good. If it scares you or upsets you, then you just put that on the back burner.
And that's one thing when on a spiritual path, and I'm sure that you connected with this really early on, is you become so very attuned to what feels good. It's like, and I talk about moving my energy around. Like if I'm thinking about a decision, I'll kind of, well, how does this feel? And then I'll move it over here, and then I'll move it over here. And I kind of follow the one that feels like the most fun.
Yes. Oh,
And we instead of logically thinking like, what should I do societally based, what rings true with me?
Yeah, good for you. And yeah, that's because we need that feel good feeling.
We do.
To push us forward.
Because it brings us more.
Brings us more.
Yeah.
And so, I developed some great friends, and a couple really good friends that were close by. Well, Denise, who and then
I
a
love
friend
Denise.
Carrie. Carrie lived only like 10 minutes from me. So, and I met her through the channeling Eric. And so she was just my silly friend, where I can just be silly and goofy, and we can talk about stuff and just have fun and not take life seriously. And that really brought joy to my heart, because we could develop friendships from the spiritual aspect forward, versus we didn't know each other's past and what we all had been through, so we could appreciate each other for now. There's no judgment. So really the like-minded people, whether this is whoever these different people that are out there's networks of all different platforms that people can explore to see what resonates, meaning what feels good, what you look forward to, which gives you peace too. What gives you peace? So, if you hear someone tell their story and it scares you, well, you're not ready for that, or it's not making sense, then that's not for you. So you shift, go to a different direction. It's no different than anything else in life. But this journey, I'm coming up on 10 years next week. Some days it feels like 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And of course, we all have that blur in those COVID years. That's kind of a blur anyway. It's like, I don't even know it.
Actually, I did so much meditation during that whole time that it's like, for me, it was almost a gift.
Yeah. Wow. Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you.
So how did the Facebook group come about, and how did you define doing grief differently? How did you lay out a program, or at least have some, roadmap to share with others about seeing it in a different way?
Oh, thank you for asking. So with the Facebook group, Doing Grief Differently with Adam and Sarah, and he's a capital A, capital D, because we called him Ad as a child, like Adam needed to be shortened for some reason.
I know, I was laughing about that today. It's like, moms will do that.
And I have there's 2 other Adams I know in spirit too. So it helped keep me, separated from those 2. And I wanted some type of platform. All my friends were involved and had different platforms in different groups. And it was like, well, I want a partner. And then I realized I wasn't supposed to have a partner. Adam was my partner. So it took me a while to convince myself, because I knew this was something on my journey, is to have a voice and be able to speak my truth. This was part of my healing from childhood. Being the youngest of 4, I had some traumas as a child where I wasn't heard. I was hurt by a neighbor physically several times. I didn't have a voice, and I realized that I kept all that in. And this was part of my journey, was healing my throat chakra. And what better way is to be a voice, speaking our truth and being a voice for Adam. Okay. Being way out there, but being able to support myself on Facebook, and to do videos. I do healing videos. And different platforms are bringing celebrities through where I have a conversation. I wanted my group to be more of a casual, not super structured. So if I wanted to post something that day, I would. If I didn't, I was fine because semi-retired. So that's my choice, right? And I wanted it to be a safe place. It's a private group, safe place for people on their journey, whether whatever traumas they've been through, whatever losses they've been through, that somehow they can help. This will help them on their journey, so they feel accepted and they feel that this is okay and normal. The awakening is all over the planet, has been going on for a long time.
It's fun to see, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's rattling a lot of people. It's rattling a lot of people in their boots, we'll say. And people need help. They need, just like with you, with your platform, they need help and guidance to feel like what they're going through, that they're not losing their mind.
That they're not crazy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because you can feel like that. You personally can feel like you're losing your mind. And opening up to other realities that are out there. We've got all this with the galactic community. There's so much going on that it's just fun, but
we are the top event in the galaxy right now. We are the e-ticket ride. There are so many civilizations that are watching us.
Which it's amazing. It's amazing to try to live your life where you have one foot in that direction and one foot planted here. But is that balance? And I'm sure that's what you hear from a lot of, your clients, is having that balance, that daily balance. So you don't swing too far one way or too grounded the other way.
Right.
And I think that's the gift that we're, with the different platforms, with your viewers and my viewers, is to help them to feel safe and to say, this is okay. You're not the only one, and you can talk about it. So the Facebook group, and people, they stay with it until they're ready to move on and open up another door and go somewhere else, or they've started their own. And so there's no set rules other than being kind, in the group.
So are you working as a medium now?
Yes. As a psychic medium. I really, really love helping others to help them connect with their loved ones and their guides. I really love that, to empower them. I think that's really my true goal, is to help them bridge that gap and to know that they have those abilities. Pay it forward. Someone helped me. I want to pay it forward too.
And I want to kind of go back a bit and touch base on the automatic writing, because for me, based on just my experience and clearly yours as well, it's a very easy way to start hearing. And my experience was, I was just journaling after my daughter transitioned, just writing out my feelings, just writing. And all of a sudden, you're writing words that you did not think of. And it's almost a magical process that is so gentle and so easy that it's not scary. It's more fascinating, and everyone can do it. Everyone can do it. So if you're watching and you're thinking, oh, my aunt crossed over, or my grandmother crossed over, or, a friend crossed over, I wonder if I can do that too. My experience, and I think, Sara, you can share it as well, or you share it as well, is that you just start writing, and before you know it, the information starts coming in, and you writing these paragraphs. I have stacks of notebooks that I wrote with my daughter, and I go back and read them. I think, ooh, that's good. I didn't write it
now.
I didn't write it, but it's a really safe, easy way, and you don't have to tell anybody about it. You can just do it on your own, with a little bit of quiet time, to start listening and to start really finding out.
That's a great tip. It's what really helped me. I remember it was the second anniversary of Adam, and I said, I'm going to start writing. And I start writing, and it was like, what is this? This whole paragraph of like, that's not me.
I'm not that smart.
And I do suggest others start with just a word that comes in. It could just be a word, and you're just doodling. You can be just doodling on paper or with crayons or whatever, and then just say, I'm going to ask for a word. I also do in the Facebook group every once in a while, ask for a song.
Yes.
Ask your loved ones for a song,
Yes.
because we all can relate, and that's not scary at all. We all can relate. We all have a whole library of songs.
And they can push play on the one that you need to
Mhm.
hear.
Yep. And so it might be something to do because you have a memory around it, or it could be that, the title of it rings true to you, what the meaning of it could be a line from the song. And I always usually ask for something silly, fun, and
Oh, I
fun.
love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it comes through and you're just like, oh, it just came through. And other people, I don't hear anything. Well, if that song is looping in your mind for like 10 minutes, that's your song.
Hmm.
But you're not, I mean, you're so hyper focused that you want it to come in a certain way.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's going to come in subtle and then it just
Yeah.
starts playing.
Yeah.
So but that's, if everyone could just practice even that, the automatic writing, asking for a song to play in your thoughts, in your mind, it is
Mhm.
going to come. Usually it'll come in before you even finish saying that.
I know, it's so quick. That's such a good tip.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Or a movie. It could be a movie title because we all have a
Hmm.
library of movies in us too, or a one special one-liner from a movie,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
just a fun way to prove to you that you are connected. You're proving it to
Yeah.
yourself because you
And
really have
they
to convince
want they
yourself.
want to connect with you as much as you want to connect with them.
Oh yeah, a lot of people will ask me that to say, well, am I taking time away? Are they, for someone else? I said, no, 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 they're omnipresent. They're multi,
Yeah. They can do
so,
10 things at once.
so it's okay. I said, they want to help you or you
Hmm.
wouldn't be in this awakening.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so that's what helped me was connecting with Adam, previous lives where I didn't make it through the grief, that we tried
Oh,
this same role a few
okay.
other times,
Hmm.
not the same situation, and I didn't make it through.
Yeah.
So I kept telling myself, I will make it through because I'll be darned, I'm not going through this again. I
Yeah.
will not go through this again.
Yeah.
And so by him sharing that, that really, really helped me because I felt it, then I'd get flashes of it or whatever. And then it's kind
Yeah.
of remembering, like,
That knowingness.
that knowingness and
Yes.
trusting it. I'm
Hmm.
not saying there's still times I dip once in a while, but it's not usually about him. It's something else that's not, I'm off balance in my life,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
Hmm.
So I think this whole awakening and shift on the planet is that we've got to see that people need to really look at their limited beliefs.
Yes. And I do want to ask you now that we're getting kind of close to the end of our conversation, because you have such an expanded awareness and you talk with people that have a really expanded awareness, what can you share with us about how to walk through what's going on the planet? I kind of call it like remodeling the kitchen.
Yeah,
And
it's
we're
the
in that
remodeling.
phase right now where all the cabinets have been pulled down and the refrigerator we ordered is back stock, 6 months
Yeah.
out, and we ordered the wrong stove and the workmen aren't showing up. We're in that phase.
And we have termites. That's right.
Yeah,
Eating
yeah,
away.
yeah. We're on
Yeah.
our way to something really good, but right now it's just really
It's,
bumpy.
if
What
you
have
can say,
you
yeah, that's,
heard?
it is. There's always a jolt before the calm. There always is. I
Mhm.
think of it like a Tigger bouncing. There's always something that we're resisting before we're releasing. You might not be aware of it, but that's where the journaling is going to come in, the meditation, just sitting in Epsom salts bath with
Mhm.
candle gazing, anything where it's calming. A lot of people avoid the calming because they don't want to deal with their emotions or feelings,
Yeah,
but that's what's causing it.
yeah.
Okay. Is grounding. Grounding is really important, whatever that is for you, whether that
Mhm.
is the bath, it is being out in the grass if you're able to. Just aligning your chakras with a 15-minute YouTube, that they'll talk you right through on how to ground and balance your chakras. Drinking lots of water, taking care of your diet and exercise, just a calming walk, whatever routine, and that can vary week to week, month to month. And massages,
Oh, that's
anything
a good one.
self-care, anything
Mhm.
self-care that maybe you don't indulge in, and it could be a self-massage if you don't have the funds to go to a massage therapist, is pampering yourself, ways of getting in touch with your own feelings and emotions and your energy. What feels right? When you feel right,
Mhm.
you feel right. When you feel off, how do I get back to feeling right? You got to get back to that feeling again.
Yeah.
So whether you are at work and you have a high stress job and you need to go to sit in the bathroom for 3 or 4 minutes to calm, listen to, a 3-minute music song choice that's going to calm you so you can go back. Because as we know, with a law of attraction,
you
got to get goes wrong, it's going to keep going wrong. It just keeps piling up. And the energy is working with us so strongly and so present that we're manifesting so quick. So really paying attention to your thoughts. I love looking at angel numbers. That's what I'm hearing. Angel numbers are easy because you see them with your physical eyes, everywhere. And that's a great way for the universe to be communicating with you. And it could be also your loved ones. If you say, okay, I want, my uncle, his favorite ball player was such and such, number 16. So I see lots of 16s or whatever it is. Then you know that, okay, I feel supported. I'm not alone. I'm not going crazy.
When I think I had done the second interview for this channel, and it was with just a lovely gal who's a friend of mine now. I walked out into the kitchen, and I'm not kidding you, 11:11 was on the clock. And I just cracked up. It's like, you guys aren't even so subtle.
I love numbers. That really, really helped me in that first year was the numbers. I didn't understand it because number 22 had been following me my whole life, but I didn't even delve into that until Adam passed. I didn't know. I thought it was just my lucky number. I remember even in high school, we were going on a senior trip, and I remember drawing our hotel. A bunch of us girls were going to go from Michigan to Florida for spring break. I remember drawing my hotel door and writing 222 on the door. We get to our hotel and our room is 222. Oh my gosh. So I had those synchronicities and those things going on, but I didn't chalk it up as an ability of any sort or anything or manifesting or whatever. So I realized this was a great form for me to communicate with Adam and to the universe, archangels, whatever label you want to put on, and say, I want this. I want to communicate with Jesus, and my special number is. There you go. Because they know what we need, and that's a beautiful way to reassure you that you're going to be fine.
Yeah. And we have so much help right now. So much help.
We need the help because it's crazy right now.
We need it. We're glad you're all here, all of you. So, Sara, this has been such a wonderful conversation. Thank you so much for
thank you for having me. I so enjoyed it, and my heart to your heart.
Yeah, definitely. How can we find out more about you? Where do we find you?
My website is sarakujawa.com. And I'm sure you'll post how to spell my name. And the Facebook group is Doing Grief Differently with Adam and Sara. And I also have TikTok that's not all spiritual because I do have some other things on there about our move with our house because we call it Adam's Acre because we bought an acre of land about an hour and a half north of Houston. So there's some spiritual stuff on it, but a lot of it's because I love interior decorating. So,
okay.
Okay, that's Adam's Acre on TikTok.
Okay.
So, and then all the links are there. So
wonderful.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I hope you'll come back and see us again.
Oh, I would love to. Anytime. Thank you.
We'll keep the conversation going.
Okay, thank you.
All righty. Thank you so much. And everyone, make it a great week and stay serene. Bye now.
Bye.
I hope you enjoyed this video. Coming up next, this is a good one. Or you might really like this one too. Either one of them could be perfect for you. Before you leave, don't forget to subscribe.